What do most people not realize is a huge waste of money. Realizing this now when I'm having a kid, all of the baby stuff that will at most get used once. Find a good used clothing toy store for kids, you'll save an enormous amount of money. A lot of the used clothes I bought for my oldest son have been used by his little brothers over the years and is still being used by my nephew. You can find higher quality used stuff than the cheap crap sold at Walmart, and it still costs less. No worries man, you can get by without most of that stuff. For instance, the bumbo chair, used to hold infants up in a seated position. Not necessary. Your child will learn how to sit by themselves, hopefully, by 6 months. Then after that, you don't need that seat anymore. All of those products aimed at parents of infants are mostly a waste of money. The infant stage is such a short period of time. The first child feels like forever, then you have a second child and you are left feeling like whoa. What happened? Try to make do with less good luck and remember, it is all real, a short stages just bunched together. Document fees at car dealerships. It's a fee for them to print and file paperwork. They'll present it as if it's a state law that is non-negotiable, but that's total bullshit. Refuse to pay it. If they won't lower the document fee, just fucking leave and go to some other dealership. And if they quickly agree to lower or drop the fee, it might be a sign you're getting fleeced on the rest of the deal. I currently work at a dealership. Luckily I am no longer in sales, but can confirm, doc fees are bullshit. Ours is $799, and it's absolutely redonkulous. Unfortunately they get away with it being that high because so few people read through the paperwork they have to sign and don't truly understand what they are getting into. I would say a lot of baby toys. You spend hundreds on certain flashy, expensive gifts that just sit unused in the corner, and then they play with that trinket you picked up from the pound shop all the time. I know it's a bit cliché, but my experience so far is that kids often just want to play with a cardboard box, so to speak. You don't need to spend hundreds on a 1-3-year-old in terms of toys and games. I used to work at IKEA, and the one item that kids would have tantrums over are the dish brushes that have the suction part at the end. Kids have such a wild imagination, so there really is no point in buying them expensive toys. They will play with what they find. Can confirm. I had my 8-month-old nephew over for just over a week. He got bored of all the toys he had after 3 days. Gave him a clean wooden spatula when he wouldn't stop crying while I was cooking, and it became his favorite toy for the rest of the time he stayed over. One of the best gifts my son received when he was about 2 was this little play pizza set and round cutter, along with a set that had vegetables that you could cut with a plastic knife. The pizza slices and the veggies were held together with Velcro. He played with that thing for years. He's now an excellent cook. Oh lol, I know exactly what kind of brush you mean. I love sticking it to a cabinet or wall when I'm done with the dishes, and then it makes a funny pop sound when you pull it off again. Dollar store is the best thing ever when you have a toddler. Let them pick out a basket of whatever they want and it still comes out to less than a single toy from Target, and it lasts a month instead of 2 days. Plus you don't care about throwing it out or breaking what you get. The Dollar Tree has plastic toy cars that light up. They're actually pretty decently made. 10/10 would step on one and almost break my neck again. Food delivery services like DoorDash. Amazing way to turn a $7 burrito into a $17 burrito. Confession. I still do it about 4 times a week. DoorDash was a sin when I had surgery though. I couldn't cook, couldn't stand that long, and there were very few things I could eat. My husband doesn't drive, and he's not a good cook, so I use them every day for about a week to order eggs, toast, and fresh fruit. I rarely use them anymore though. Not packing your lunch every day. Once I switched to meal prepping every other week, I suddenly had a lot more disposable income. Timeshares, almost never worth it, and the maintenance fees alone for the privilege of owning 1 or 2 weeks a year, shared with dozens of others, is simply throwing money away. My brother and I have one that we actually make money on. Usually $1,000, $1,500 per person per year, and it's still almost not worth it for the sheer frustration of getting it rented. We didn't buy it either, it was our parents'. I'm in a similar situation. My partner's grandmother gifted her timeshare to us. We just have to pay the yearly maintenance fee of about $700. But we can exchange it all over the world and we get 5 weeks per year. We just used a week in Greece and it was great. I'm wondering if it will be worth the trouble of trying to rent out the weeks we don't use. It sounds like a pain. Your grandmother just wanted to get rid of it. There are tons of $1 buy it now timeshares on eBay from people just trying to get out. They just want you to take over the fees. Well, yeah, she did want to get rid of it, which is why she gave it to us. She's like 90 and doesn't use it anymore. But we're really happy with it. We've had 2 amazing vacations for a fraction of what we'd spend otherwise. But that's because the mortgage is paid off. Also, from my limited experience regarding them, if something comes up and you can't make use of your time, that's tough shit. Probably varies from place to place, though. As an assistant teacher at a preschool, this may seem silly to everyday life, but in preschool daycare life I hate when parents waste so much money on specific diets and essential oils on their children who don't need or use them. Stop sending your child in with your Wanderlust Apple Crush essential oil. Yeah, it's in quotes for a reason. We all know it's bullshit juice. Obligatory edit. I'm off work and tipsy as fuck since it's VBS. Let this post die. You think it's bad, but I work as an after-school teacher at a Montessori school, and that's every kid and the teachers. I've never seen so many essential oils or natural cleaners in my life. I'm at a religious preschool and VPK program, and I'm driven insane from the "it'll be solved through prayer and oils" mindset. I understand to a degree. I'm at a religious one too. Luckily we don't just pray when our kids vomit everywhere or get lice. Here I am religious, and I think God gave us the stuff we need to rid someone of lice and make them feel better. I feel like if we only pray, God's just sitting there shaking his head thinking it's ridiculous we don't use what he gave us. This reminds me of this very common story about the guy on the roof. I think I heard this when I was a little kid at mass, maybe 8. It stuck with me, though. I stole this version from here. Error occurred webpage. A fellow was stuck on his rooftop in a flood. He was praying to God for help. Soon a man in a rowboat came by and the fellow shouted to the man on the roof, "Jump in. I can save you." The stranded fellow shouted back, "No, it's okay. I'm praying to God and he is going to save me." So the rowboat went on. Then a motorboat came by. The fellow in the motorboat shouted, "Jump in. I can save you." To this the stranded man said, "No thanks. I'm praying to God and he is going to save me. I have faith." So the motorboat went on. Then a helicopter came by and the pilot shouted down, "Grab this rope and I will lift you to safety." To this the stranded man again replied, "No thanks. I'm praying to God and he is going to save me. I have faith." So the helicopter reluctantly flew away. Soon the water rose above the rooftop and the man drowned. He went to heaven. He finally got his chance to discuss this whole situation with God, at which point he exclaimed, "I had faith in you, but you didn't save me. You let me drown. I don't understand why." To this God replied, "I sent you a rowboat and a motorboat and a helicopter. What more did you expect?" What gets me is that people don't seem to know it's essential as in smelly, not essential as in necessary. I reckon that if those two words weren't spelt and said the same, the essential oils industry would be much smaller. I did not know that. Been sitting here all this time wondering how they got away with calling them essential. Renting a router from your ISP, return it and go buy one. Edit. A lot of opinions on this. It may not always be beneficial to own instead of renting. Depends on your ISP and what you need. Some quick research into your options could save some money. I'm stuck with Comcast and it was definitely better to buy one. To everyone asking for recommendations, I bought a Motorola modem router for about $100 that works well for my two-person household. Better than what Comcast gave me. Definitely research what works with your ISP and if it supports everything you need before buying something. Not to mention that they're almost all shitty. Saw someone's bill that charged $10 a month for renting a shitty router 10 months and you could have bought a router that is miles ahead. Edit. Y'all. I'm not gonna tell you what router to buy. Use Google. It's a valuable skill to find something you want to know using the internet, and there are too many different situations that different routers would be better for while you're at it. Read about basic networking and give yourself the ability to see through this kind of bullshit. Yeah, but you pay $10 in installments. Poor people can't afford to drop $100 on something they don't really need. Even if it's shitty, my router rental still gives 40 Mbps over Wi-Fi. It's the data usage that fucks people. Considering the fact that the Avergi Netflix movie streamed in 1080p takes 3 GB of data, 1 TB between 4 people. AVG family size in America is impossible without rationing data. That, and the fact that even if you go just 1 millibar over you usually have to pay a fee that's over double your monthly charge. Ridiculous. Wait, ISPs have data limits? Edit. Just looked and I have a limit of 1024 GB. Didn't know I had a limit, but luckily I'm averaging about 180 GB a month. Can imagine using 10x that amount. Yup, and Houston Comcrap only gives you 1000 GB a month. Fucking ridiculous. I'm gonna have to start finding sites or an extension that removes bullshit data from things, makes it 90s level to go easy on the data because it's easy as hell to hit that. After that limit they charge $10.50 GB over that, I think. Or if you pay more for a business line they miraculously don't have data caps. Get that. I have Comcast in Florida. I wonder if I have a limit that I never knew about, never hit. Can you check your usage online? Beware of this advice if you are not a technically inclined user. The first day you experience slow speeds, your ISP will blame your router, and will not accept that it is their problem until they've shipped you one of their routers, at your expense. Then after you've gone through the trouble of proving it was them, you have to speak to multiple levels of representatives to be refunded the 1-month rental fee on the shit router they sent you to prove it was them in the first place. Keep a $40 NetGear router on hand to swap out for testing. If your problem goes away, it was your router. If it doesn't, or you don't have a spare, remove the router from your setup and test by plugging directly into your modem if possible. If the problem goes away, it was the router. If not, it can be the modem or your ISP. They should be able to test the speed signal to the modem. If you're not able to identify the source of the problem from here, God hates you and you should give up technology and move into the woods. My ICE charges me $10 a month for my router. That is mine. The account is in my husband's name. He refuses to call and deal with them. And they won't let me do anything because I'm not on the account. Call and say you are your husband, and if they question your voice, tell them you're transgender. Surely you can verify his phone number and date of birth. Most CSI have never questioned my voice. If you say yes I am James, they'd most likely ask you're James if you sound like a woman. And if you say yes I'm James, they can't do much. So long as everything is verified they can't do shit. Source: worked in customer service for years. Also call Comcast and T-Mobile for my technologically inexperienced parents. Man. Just have him dial. Confirm it's him. Then hand you the phone. $10 a month is $120 a year. This might be slightly off topic, but T annoyed me nonetheless. The other day, an Audi commercial came on. It was about a woman working at a good job but instead opted to quit and start her own business. The first thing she does is buy a brand new fucking Audi SUV. How are you going to start your own business when you just dropped a shit ton of money to buy that new car? I just saw this commercial last night and made the same exclamation to my wife at how ridiculous this scenario is. Who writes this kind of marketing? Advertising is about appealing to the way people want to see themselves, not reality. Exactly. They want to portray purchasing their products as a good financial decision, when in reality it's a completely unnecessary expense. There's been one airing during the Tour de France that's driving me crazy. Remember your first bike? Shot of kid pedaling a little bike. No, your first real bike? Shot of athletic white guy riding $sign road bike on a mountain road. Now it's time for your first real truck. Shot of athletic white guy loading his 15-pound bike into the back of a $56,000 heavy-duty V8 crew cab pickup truck with a 20,000-pound towing capacity that gets 8 miles per gallon. Like what the fuck? You're trying to convince me that I need a truck that's the size of a friggin' tank to carry my lightweight racing bike that I can lift with one hand? Then they go back to race coverage, where there's like a compact 3-cylinder Peugeot or Renault hatchback that's got a dozen bikes strapped to the roof and is full of people yet is able to drive up some Alpine Pass. Like, looks like those guys are doing just fine without a friggin' Hemi or whatever, and they are probably getting 1,000,000 centimeters to the liter or whatever they measure gas in. You're weirdly not that far off. For a car that gets 30 miles gallon, there's 160,934 cm mile. There's 0.264172 gallons liter. So that's 1,275,428 cm liter. Haha, that last sentence cracked me up. I'm just imagining some German engineers holding up an ungodly long measuring tape to asphalt trying to figure out where the last liter ended. I'm just thinking of Jeremy driving to Scotland and back on a tank of gas. I don't know what is going on with ads right now, but quite a few have ruffled my feathers. I was watching one for birth control the other day. The woman is grocery shopping while her kids run rampant through the store. You hear her thoughts as she cleans up their mess. I cannot deal with more kids right now. Don't blame your kids, you bitch. You were letting them run around unsupervised with a shopping cart. Hate that ad. Big ass weddings. It's okay if you can afford it, but if you're gonna be in debt, then what's the point? In my case, my father-in-law was willing to spend money on the wedding but would let us have a cheap wedding and use the rest for a down payment on a house. So we had a $22K wedding. $22K unfortunately seems like the average these days. My GF's friend was just telling her the lighting stage setup she wanted was almost $10K alone. My little sister just told me she's going to declare bankruptcy. Her dream wedding turned into a debt nightmare when she had a sharp drop in income right after. I feel bad for her, but I never thought it was a good idea to leverage her credit for something so ephemeral. Buying a gym membership when you know you're not going to be going in 4 months. Yeah, that's true for all those other people. I'm gonna go 11 times a week. Paying $400 billion, 400 bill, for a fiber network system that was never delivered. True story. Edit. That number is correct. I accidentally typed, for bill, at the end instead of 400 bill. Every time this gets brought up I die a little more inside. Where is the accountability man? Like what the actual fuck? Where is the fucking oversight? I'm honestly confused as to why someone hasn't raised actual hell over this. Businessmen and politicians don't go to jail in this country unless the rest of them need a scapegoat. Even then, it's a slap on the wrist. Well, even when it's after a decade, they don't have to sign up for work, worry about amenities, and/or prove that they should be allowed back into society. Same with the few big traffickers. They just walk out. There may be a report on it, but then he just goes into obscurity. Edit. I was misinformed about a trafficker called La Barbie. I read he served his sentence in Mexico and the reporters threw me off, but after reading up on him he was transferred to the US. Bank fees just for having an account. Get thee to a credit union. Edit. Your mileage may vary. People. Point is, it pays to shop around. Not in Poland. Credit unions are ass backwards, and in regular banks you pay no fees if you use your debit card few times a month. Super easy. Even your mom and pop veggie store has a payment terminal nowadays. Not only that, Butons, you've established yourself at a large credit union, they will go out of their way to make sure you get everything you need, including home and car loans, without a bunch of hassle or upsells or hidden fees. Have bought both through mine and it was one of the most pleasant, easiest experiences I've ever had. A bank. The difference is the credit unions are solely responsible to the members, people paying in, and they are the shareholders. So you get treated as such. People really pay to have an account. I got my PNC bank account at 16. Am 21 now, and have never paid a cent to PNC. Anything you buy on sale that you weren't planning to buy in the first place gives you that rush of buying something when you feel like you're getting a good deal. There are a lot of things I'd like to buy but won't because of price. If it comes down due to a sale, I'll buy it. I don't see it as saving money though, just as a good deal. Most of the flavor comes from the different types of plastic lining used in the bottles. Bottles which account for a huge amount of waste and pollution and which generate carbon to make. And it's usually shite tap water anyways. Get a few nice refillable bottles, rinse out a milk jug when done, and buy an at-home water filter. I have 6 people in my house, and we give the press filtered water too. The filters lasted 9 full months, and cost about $10 to replace. Fill and refill your water bottles, and use the gallon jug if you're gonna be driving all day. Gas station soda fountains will have cold, filtered water for free if you refill your own containers. I completely agree. Bottled water is an utter and complete sham that chokes the environment with pollution. Definitely do not use an old milk jug to store your water. That plastic is porous and all kinds of bacteria will be growing in it. Buy a gallon of distilled water and reuse that. Most of the flavor comes from the different types of plastic lining used in the bottles. bottles which account for a huge amount of waste and pollution and which generate carbon to make. And it's usually shite tap water anyways. This is incorrect. The mineral additions to water can have a huge impact on flavor, chalky, salty, metallic, etc. and mouthfeel. Dry versus full. Source: Homebrewer. Owning a boat. My grandpa bought his most recent boat for $28,000 and within 4 years had spent $30,000 on fuel, general maintaining costs, storage, insurance and one fairly cheap repair. Expensive HDMI cables. It's digital. The bits make it or they don't. They don't degrade less over fancy cables. Here's a pretty reputable source. 4K HDMI cables. A nonsense. CNET webpage. This is also pretty credible. In terms of picture quality there's no difference, explains Jeff Park, Senior Technical Manager for HDMI Licensing, LLC. It's digital, so it's all or nothing. Edit. Reference Edit 2. Quote from HDMI Licensing, LLC. The 1S and 0S that come through my $200 Monster HDMI cable are like prettier. Though this does depend on the length of run you're looking to do. Over a certain length you're going to want to have an active cable, and the newer HDMI spec will require an upgraded cable to get the full throughput. That being said, you still are best off getting those things somewhere cheap like Monoprice. True but not always. Worth noting that if you're a gamer and you want 4K at 60Hz you will need a specific type of HDMI cable as the regular cables don't have the required bandwidth. Boats. In a vacuum, boats are not a waste of money. But I say boats because there is a strong contrast between the number of people who own at least one boat, and the number of people who actively use their boats. Source: anecdotal, but I know too many people who bought a boat and used it maybe 3-5 times over a 10-year period. There are two happy days with a boat: the day you buy it, and the day you sell it. True if you don't use it. I bought a boat last year, a classic 21 feet jet boat for a few $1000s. Into it about $7k all said and done. We live 20 minutes from a lake and use it 5-6x each month from April, November and then maybe 1x more on warm days in the winter. Being on the water is one of the most relaxing things for me, my wife and my daughter. It's truly therapeutic. We figured we've been out on the water 20x since we bought it. A comparable boat rental is $600 day at our lake. Our $1,200 plus at someplace like Lake Tahoe. We've easily recouped our investment and even with maintenance, etc. We're still far ahead each year because we actually use it. Had I spent $50k plus on a boat, different story. It's purely recreational to us and 20-30 trips per year is well worth the $2-3k a year it costs in TCO. Not shopping the deals at the grocery store and meal planning. If you will eat it or use it before it goes bad, buy it while it is on sale and save. Like toothpaste is expensive. Takes hard-earned money away from fun things. If it goes on sale twice a year, buy a few tubes at $1.50 versus the $5. Same goes with cleaning supplies and cupboard food. Plastic, one-time use water bottles. I've been saving so much money since I purchased a reusable one. My girlfriend and I got each other Hydro flasks for Christmas. The huge size ones. Yeah, they're a little expensive, but they are so great. My water stays cold all day at work and after I get home. And they are practically indestructible. I've dropped mine with only a few paint scuffs and my girlfriend's only has a dent because it got crushed and it's not even that big of a dent. Please, stop fueling the market for crappy plastic bottles. They kill the environment and waste so much of your money. Credit repair companies. Everything they advertise to be able to do one can do themselves. For free. This is an unconventional one, but flipped houses. If you think construction companies can be shady with cutting corners, why would you trust some random couple in their early 30s that barely had enough money to put a bid on a crappy short sale foreclosed house, let alone materials and certified people to repair it? I'm not saying all house flippers are bad, but the problem is that all the dumb HGTV shows about it made everyone think that it was the ticket to self-employment and easy money. It can be difficult enough to find trustworthy contractors as it is, but I'd never trust anyone with my electrical, plumbing, or house structure unless they were certified and insured, which I'm guessing these couples who think flipping is as easy as installing new tiled floors are not. Here's the general thing with houses. You may save money by buying the flipped, foreclosed, whatever in the short term, but long term you pay for it in expensive repairs. Houses are one of those things where once you get behind with repairs, you're not catching up unless you come into a good sum of money. This doesn't apply to people who actually know how to work on their own homes, though. The other thing about flipped houses that cracks me up is you'll see this beautifully renovated house smack in the middle of a neighborhood where there's cars on cinder blocks on every lawn, etc. So the house might be nice, but man, that property value is gonna be trash if it ever needs to be resold. But I'd never trust anyone with my electrical, plumbing, or house structure unless they were certified and insured, which I'm guessing these couples who think flipping is as easy as installing new tiled floors are not. Most house flips don't actually touch anything structural. It's basically just cleaning the place up and giving it a modern look. Things like new floors, cabinets, countertops, baseboards, crown molding, paint, landscaping. All of that is pretty simple to do, but makes a huge difference for house value to laser buyers that aren't willing to do the work themselves. Electrical plumbing is rarely touched unless it needs to be. Constantly eating out. Making your own meals is usually cheaper depending on what you make. If you run your own, you can usually get several meals out of one meal. For the last 2 weeks, most recent pay period, I decided to completely stop eating out and not spend any money on anything extra, minus when I see my fee in K. I cannot believe how much money I saved. Cooking is just about always cheaper unless you're cooking steaks every day or letting the food spoil. Even then, a home-cooked steak, baked potato, and side of vegetables will be about $10-15 depending on the size cut of steak, which is what you can expect to pay for one stroke to the amount of food eating out. I've eaten more steak in the past month than I have in the past few years combined. I bought a grill. Cleanses. We have evolved over millions of years, and our bodies have a natural way of dealing with toxins. Most of the time, cleanses aren't necessary, or even a real thing. If your liver and kidneys are failing, a couple liters of weird juice ain't gonna get you far, and otherwise, still not doing shit for you. From experience, I can tell you one thing that really does work to cleanse your body and make you feel healthier during kidney failure: dialysis and medications prescribed by a nephrologist. Specifically peritoneal dialysis, because that doesn't drain you as bad. I thought you meant soap, and I was ready to kinda fight you on that, as some soaps can be way too expensive. Just a quick look at Walmart. The cheapest bottle of liquid bath soap I saw was $2.97. You can get a pack of 8 Irish Spring bars for $3.97. The issue there is certain people have bad reactions to certain soaps. For example, most bar soaps tend to dry my skin out, and working maintenance and getting random stuff on your hands all day is a bad combination with dry cracked skin on your hands. Also, my GF would likely throw me out of the house if I even thought about bringing Irish Spring in our house, as she can't stand the smell of it, lol. So I get the whole cleanses are unnecessary from the standpoint of cleaning your body, but fuck, do some of those things make you take life-changing shits? They should be advertised as pills that offer enlightenment due to the amazing shits you will take, not as cleansers. Being poor. Those health checkups you have to put off because you can't afford the copay could allow something small to become a condition that bankrupts you. Having to pay high fees to cash a check. Having to spend more for your commute, gas tolls, train, bus, because you can't afford to live near where you work. Having to pay higher prices for shittier produce because there's no grocery store in your poor food desert neighborhood. The list goes on and on. Being poor is a huge waste of the money you don't have. Rule of thumb. If you realistically have no need for something and you have to try to convince yourself justify that you need that something, it's a waste of money. People that rake up all their leaves, put them in bags, and then put them at the end of the street to get picked up. Then they go out to the big box store and buy fertilizer for their grass, because it's dying. People, the grass clippings feed the grass. Leaves feed the grass. The grass clippings are a source of nitrogen. You know exactly like the nitrogen fertilizer you are buying. The leaves are a source of carbon. Carbon and nitrogen together will compost and make soil nutrients for your tree's grass to eat. If you remove either grass clippings or leaves from your lawn, you are a doofus. If you then spend money on fertilizer, you are an even bigger doofus. Now your grass has no food. Your soil microbiology starts starving and dying. You have nothing alive in your lawn anymore. If you fertilize, you make the situation worse, because nothing learns how to feed itself. Your grass, trees, garden plants don't develop fine root hairs or extensive root systems. Who needs it when that doofus is feeding me? So now you created a system of dependence. It's like those parents that do everything for their kids and wonder why their 20-year-old doesn't know how to do laundry or pay their bills or save money. What did you expect? So what's the right way? Remove your lawn. Okay, that's the correct answer, and it's gaining popularity, but it's still unlikely anyone reading this will actually do that. But understand this. Grass sold its soul to the devil, and when he did, he threw clover under the bus. Clover is labeled a weed and grass isn't. It couldn't be further from the truth. Which one feeds the soil? Which one feeds the bees? So, remove that useless sod lawn and plant a garden and some fruit trees. At the very least, have a clover lawn for the bees. But I don't care about the planet or the bees. And I still want a useless lawn. Sigh. Okay. Instead, cut your grass high and leave the clippings. In the fall, mow the leaves, to shred them and leave them on the lawn. Sow clover back into the lawn, so that you have nitrogen fixing legume plants again. These plants are in situ fertilizers, as natural and organic as it gets. And they literally pull the nitrogen out of the air and put it in the soil. Why pay for nitrogen fertilizer when the air is mostly nitrogen? Ever think of how stupid that is, and how there's likely a natural system that does that all by itself in some kind of symbiotic relationship? Good news. There is. They are called nitrogen fixers, and one of the nitrogen fixing plants is clover. Just about every balanced ecosystem on the planet has a nitrogen fixer as part of the complex orchestra of diversity. Black locust, beans, peas, peanuts, vetch, autumn olive, sea buckthorn. There are many. Clover. So why clover? Clover is perfect for a lawn. It's what you would create if you could sit down with 100 of the brightest minds on the planet and bioengineer the perfect grass companion. It's great for a lawn because it's short, it exists under the grass blades, and can survive constant mowing. There are even microclovers if you hate the white flowers that feed the bees. You won't even know it's there, except for the fact that your lawn is actually green. Even more, it has a wide leaf which provides tons of shade to the soil beneath it, protecting soil microbiology from harmful UV light, keeping your soil life alive. Living soil means that when your grass plant puts out exudates to attract life to the roots, to eat the nutrients and make it bioavailable to the plant root, it's actually there and able to. Not only this, but this shading of the ground also prevents noxious weeds from germinating that would otherwise germinate through the perfect filtered sun condition which the thin grass leaves provides. Clover. What an MVP plant. Also, grass is a heavy nitrogen feeder, so wouldn't it be swell if we paired it up with a plant that creates so much nitrogen that it overflows and spills over into the soil? The Robin to our Batman? Let's do it then. How perfect is this little clover weed? Let's wake up and give some love to the little clover buddy. Let's learn facts before we hate on something so amazing. It's science, bitch. Quick aside, I don't like to read anything without learning something new. Learning how something works, it helps provide an anchor to retain information long term. I'm going to force that way of life on you now. Here's one paragraph on how these plants actually work. Let's nerd out and learn something new today. Clover provides nitrogen biosymbiotic relationship with bacteria who take the nitrogen and store it in clusters in the root system. Then when you mow the lawn and cut the clover, plants do their thing. There is an imbalance in below ground and above ground mass, so they even it out. They do this two ways, growing more on top. This is why cutting your lawn rejuvenates it, because it simulates animal grazing and stimulates regrowth. The second way they equate the upper below ground imbalances by shedding root mass below ground. When it does this, not only does it add organic matter to your soil for the microorganisms to eat, but it also separates those fertilizer nitrogen clusters. These then get released into the soil. So, cutting clover is like direct fertilizing underground, and it feeds everything around it. But that's not all that happens when you run your land like this. You save money too. Water. You now have higher organic material content in your soil, which holds water. Rain doesn't sheet across your land as much but instead soaks in. Now you are not only fertilizing less, but also watering less, and your grass is greener. You aren't carting away your land's fertility, and spending money and doing work, and diesel to do so. It rains and the next day your neighbor is out mowing his dry grass. His grass goes wet dry. Yours has organic material in it, and it rains once a week and you are just peachy. Yours goes wet, moist, slightly less moist, etc. Even better, replace that lawn with some gardens. Mulch deep with wood chips, 6-8 inches. Feed that fungus. The fungus among us that feeds and holds the whole world together. The MVP of the planet. Prevent evaporation of water. Store water in the land, not on the land. Build organic matter in your soil and you can't go wrong. Build food for you and nature, and let life back in. Stop buying cookie cutter cut and paste neighborhoods with nothing but ornamentals and sod grass. Food for nothing. Build food. Flowers, clover, fruit bushes and trees. Invite life back into your life. Invite wilderness. We evolved in the forests. Life is in the forest. Return to the forest. Keep your leaves. Plant more trees. Get food off your land, and not just a useless lawn. Your wallet will thank you. The planet will thank you. Edit. For anyone that is at all interested in saving the world, and doesn't already know about the loss of topsoil epidemic, please consider reading this previous post of mine. Reddit webpage. This is why I care so much about this stuff. Because it's literally going to kill us all. Edit. Every time I post something like this, I seem to get Reddit gold. I thank you, but please, plant a fruit tree for me instead. I don't need gold. The world needs more food growing on trees. Save yourself thousands of dollars by planting a $30 apple tree. That $2 end-of-season raspberry cane at the nursery auction or Home Depot clearance shelves will produce $50 of fruit next year alone, and it will replicate itself for free, as requested. Here is my clover lawn contrasted to a non-clover section my wife wanted as only grass. Imgur webpage. Edit. Since this post I made a YouTube channel. YouTube webpage. You can check me out if you would like to learn how to start your own garden. Save the planet, the bees, and the air. I live in a condo, but this is the coolest shit I have ever read. It makes so much sense, but I have never thought about it this way. I screenshot this because I'm buying a house with a yard, and plan to do a lot of gardening next year. So thank you. Now I know what not to do. A waste of large amounts of money, smoking, a large waste of small amounts of money, antivirus software. Stick to the pre-installed security essentials, or whatever safe and free shit you can get your grubby mitts on. Alcohol. I know a guy who found God and stopped going out to bars and clubs with his work and college buddies. After a year he went back and did the math and was spending 10% of his income on alcohol. That was more than he paid in taxes. Buying lunch at work. I make mine every day and see co-workers spending £5 on theirs. By God, do they not realize how quickly it adds up? Edit. A lot of comments on the waste of time. Not really applicable as I simply increase the size of an evening meal. For example, if I am cooking risotto for 2, max out my pan and I can make 6 portions in the same time, then have 4 extra meals for freezing. I have saved so much money bringing my lunch, but another bonus is that I eat healthier and better food. I'll take my quinoa and chicken over McDonald's any day. I make PB&Js at work during my lunch most days. Seems to accomplish saving money, while also being lazy enough that I don't have to do anything at home. I agree to a point. For me, I buy lunch at work because it's my reward for working and I can buy something way more healthy than I could do for myself every day. Lettuce goes bad quickly, so I'd have to visit the grocery store more often. Ergo, more time and effort wasted from me. I eat at home for breakfast and dinner, so this is my little reward to myself. Eat healthy and socialize with my co-workers at the cafeteria. There is something nice about the camaraderie of co-workers all eating lunch together. Makes it worth the $7 for some pretty good food. It's the convenience factor for me. It also motivates me to leave my office instead of working through lunch. Buying drinks at the bar. Just pre-game really hard. Your wallet will thank you later, but your liver not so much. I fucking love weed, but I am not gonna act like it isn't a waste of money. Getting the newest smartphone every year is a total waste. Nobody needs a new one every year, although I'm part of the problem for sure. Weddings. I'd rather have a simple inexpensive wedding and a lavish honeymoon. In some cases, note how I said in some cases, a college education. I'm a big believer in education. However, I think too many people go into it for the wrong reasons at the wrong time. An 18-year-old child getting into debt for promises of a better future is a huge gamble. They may turn out fine, but they may also find themselves in a major debt trap that they won't get out of for a long time. I think even anecdotally we all know some poor sucker with a ton of debt who works a shitty job just to eke out a living. I don't know anything about the trades, so I won't list them as an alternative. But there is nothing wrong with taking a year or two to work or travel, if you can afford it. Considering that an average life expectancy in the US is 78-year-old and probably will be higher with new tech. Taking a year or two off to work and figure shit out before committing to a college education is probably not going to be the difference between having a good life and missing the boat. The biggest trap of getting into a trade is that you become specialized, and to go to another industry or job type you take a huge pay cut typically, which is only a problem if you get into a trade. Stick it out long enough for your ticket. 4 years for many trades unless you take time between schooling sessions, and coming out the end you are making $40 plus an hour. But going into a trade out of high school and making $100K a year by 23 can be nice. Sure, you're out in the cold or heat and you work earlier days than the average person. Get off work earlier too though, but you can make a good living and there will pretty much always be some sort of need for the people to build stuff. I'm 23, been welding for 3 years, and only make $49K a year. Where is this $100K $40 plus an hour you speak of? Expensive cars. Those suckers depreciate at an alarming rate. I mean, they probably don't lose more as a percentage than a cheap car. But looking at a 2014 Lexus GS 350 with 42K miles on it, I see it's lost more than my brand new car is worth in value. The trick is to get one that's already depreciated, then drive around in a $90K car that was bought for $15K. Essential oils. There is no science to back up that certain scents are good for certain problems. Financial advisors. Sorry Edward Jones Partners. Unless you're dealing with huge sums of money, the average person does not need a financial advisor. Investment information is readily available these days and it's not hard to find a mutual or index fund that is right for your goals. It's just another person looking to siphon off some of your hard-earned money. I'm a financial advisor, and I approve this message. I will freely give out advice and good strategies to anyone who will listen, because I want people to amass enough money to actually need my services. Because for real, unless you have $50 minus $100K plus just lying around somewhere, you do not need me. You need to Google some investment basics. Just over a year ago, a friend's parents died and left her $20K, and she wanted to hire me to help. I pointed her in some good directions, gave her a reading list, and let her pick my brain whenever she wanted for free and told her that once it's earned more, then she can hire me to reallocate. She recently told me that in September, she'll have $60K. I was like, hell yeah, girl. Now we will do some real investing. Not that $20K won't get you anywhere, but like, don't waste some of that by paying someone to do basic investing. There are great books out there that cost $10 minus $15 that can help you get started way more than some overpriced financial stuff. Just wanted to say I think you're a good person based off that little anecdote. I appreciate those sorts of acts when I see them. I hate to say it, but donating to charity, depending on the charity, your donation is eaten up by CEO salaries and company bureaucracy. Do research before sending that check. Make sure that cash is actually going toward the issue you're trying to help. Jumping on to emphasize that if you're giving directly to a smaller local charity organization, You're definitely doing more work than donating to a larger national organization. My dad is the director of a small local food shelf, and he always says he can do more with $5 than $5 worth of food. You're not necessarily wrong, but I just want to emphasize that people should still give to organizations' causes that they're passionate about, but maybe to smaller organizations that can really use the help more. Getting coffee every day. My friend buys it once or twice a day. That's about $100 a month and $1,200 a year or more. That's not including all the gas she wastes driving there. Going to college when you don't know what you want to do. Take a few classes at a community college if you don't know what you want. Get some life experience. Talk to people. Work some random jobs. Leave your hometown. Don't blow $30,000 to switch your major 5 times. Not for me in particular, as I still enjoy it, but I have spent probably in the hundreds of thousands on drink, cigarettes, escorts, experimental drugs. The amount of spent on cigarettes is actually stupid, but it keeps me happy. I know it's pointless, but my god does it keep me calm and away from doing stupid shit. I know in my mind that it's going to kill me and it's incredibly pointless, but I'm happy right now, so can't really complain. Just make sure to die from experimental drugs and booze first. Problem solved. Not buying in bulk usually ends up costing a lot more in the long run. One example, those boxes of like 10 Oreos, $2.50. Regular 36 pack, $3. As someone who has worked in the auto sales, financing used cars that are within the same generation as the new model is straight up finesse. So you get the same car with the same features, but your interest rate jacks your price right back up to a new one. We sold 2017 Civics used with 25k on them for $19,500 at 5.99% versus a 2018 Civic same model for $22,390 at 1.99%. The difference in payment after tax and interest was $4 bi-weekly on a 84-month finance. Keep in mind new cars have almost $2k in freight charges, so technically apple to apple the new car would have been cheaper lol. Drinks at nightclubs or music festivals. Why pay $20 for one drink when I could pay the same price for a whole bottle? Why go to a bar when you can drink at home in the dark all by yourself? Fortnite, specifically their item shop, only have 24 hours to buy something you want. Gives you a constant rush to buy something you like. Early boarding or early boarding priorities. I booked my tickets for that flight. I'll get on that plane. What difference does it make if I spend even more time crammed into the plane? I'll wait outside till everyone's done with their shit, and then I'll take my seat. Designer anything. Oh, you got a $300 Gucci hat? I got a practically identical hat for $15. Seriously, I don't understand why people do this. Everyone thinks that spending $800 on a shirt makes them cool. I think it makes them look really stupid. I wear dress shoes every day at work. I can spend $30–50 on a cheap pair which I replace every 6–9 months, or buy a $300 pair which lasts me years and I can send back to be fixed. It makes sense to take the bigger upfront pay to have less hassle and money wasted in the long run. It's not just about how it looks, but oftentimes designer items are higher quality and fit better than their knockoff counterparts. Does it justify the sticker difference? That's up to you. But as someone who just bought a pair of designer jeans after a life of Levi's, I'm pretty satisfied. To me it's not about the name, but about the comfort, the look, and the fit. I think there is some kind of middle ground. I'd rather buy a €300 leather bag than a €15 faux leather that wears out in a month. But I am not spending €1,000 on a bag unless it's diamond encrusted. There is a point where quality work and materials just do not cost that much money and you are indeed buying a name. Going out to eat. Ridiculous amount of money is wasted eating out for dinners. Even if it's just a $35 bill for 2 people, that was lunch and dinner for at least 2 days right there. And a decent lunch and dinner, you could probably get more for $35. Edit. Yes. Going out for an occasion is fine, but going out for most all meals is a waste of money. Only if you do it constantly. It's definitely worth it to have a full, delicious meal and not have to worry about cooking or cleaning. It's a waste if you are doing it as a substitute for cooking your own meals. But lots of people just really like going out to eat, and make a point of doing it. Adventurous eaters, foodies, etc. It's a form of entertainment they're willing to pay money for. Dollar stores. They are a complete racket, and designed to prey on the poor. For $1 you get 1/3 of something that costs $2 at Walmart. Not true. Depends a lot on what you buy. Terrible for food generally, but bathroom supplies and plastic products, like solo cups, are often just as good and half the price. There are terrible deals at the dollar store, sure, but you can say the same thing about Walmart. It's great for organizational stuff like little baskets for drawers, makeup organizers, plastic tubs with lids, etc. Depends on the store and what you're getting. I've got a couple by me, like they both have decent options for cheap food. Both have their strong points for cheap OTC medicine. One's good for minor tools and utensils and the other great for cleaning products. Both of them are overpriced on drinks. Their clothes suck. Stationery is generally overpriced. And shit like deodorant and shampoos are either really bad or overpriced. There are some steals like those Plackers flosses that I get from Dollar Tree, but it's always worth checking the quality of a lot of the stuff you get at dollar stores, as that's often their biggest gotcha. I buy birthday decorations at the dollar store and save a ton. Finding paper plates and cups with a little decoration on it can be like $3–5 at the party store. Only catch is the selection is limited. But being crafty and saving is well worth it. Soft drinks at restaurants. Every single time we go out to eat, my dad orders a glass of Diet Coke, $3. A bottomless soft drink for $3 sure beats that $7.50 bottle of beer or $9 margarita though. That $3 soda, along with alcohol, is what helps offset the menu items with little to no profit margin. Pickup trucks. They're ridiculously expensive to own when compared to a car, and most people have little actual use for the cargo bed. It would actually be less expensive for them to rent a truck for the few times they do need the cargo space, than to simply own the pickup truck. Same thing is slowly happening with EV cars, too. Side note, another thing people fail to realize with trucks, because most people who own trucks don't actually use it for what it is. Trucks manufacturers have started to cater the trucks to their demographic. Smoother suspension, softer smoother seating, more electronic gadgets, etc. All nice stuff. But that tends to be less durable for the folks who do use those trucks for work. Edit. Looks I touched a nerve there. I think people are misunderstanding this question. You should be listing things that are a waste. That does not include going to a restaurant that cooks things better than you and creates memories. It doesn't include things that have sentimental value like diamonds or wedding days. It is for things that are a waste, like Keurig K-Cups. You can make coffee yourself that is cheaper, significantly more tasty, and, pardon the pun, create less waste for the environment. Now that is a waste. State income taxes. There are states like Texas and Washington with no state income tax and lots of high-paying jobs. I know not everyone has the luxury of picking one of these states, but if you have a very high-paying career or make a living online, it may be worth looking into one of these states. I actually like state income taxes. It's the federal income tax I despise. Minnesota, where I live, has a relatively high state income tax and we have a lot of nice things. Our roads leave a little to be desired, but they are finally getting better. Meanwhile, we get very little back from the federal government because that money goes to keeping Mississippi and Alabama livable. Ultimately, every system has waste as it gets bigger, but I don't mind the cost benefit of state taxes.